proud sponsors of the Cars Ireland YouTube channel. Cartel.ie for car history data you can trust. Buying a used car? Get an exclusive coupon code now. See the comment section for more details.
Hello and welcome back to the Cars Ireland YouTube channel. In today's video we are taking a very quick look around the new Opel Crossland. Opel's offering in the small SUV market, and you might well say, well Anthony, Opel already have an offering in the small SUV market, the Mokka. But the Crossland is more of a practical and pragmatic approach to the SUV, whereas the Mokka is stylish, funky and hip. We are not testing a fully pragmatic one though here today. As you can probably see, it's got some racy, sporty leanings, as this is the SRI model. So basically the sporty version that can kind of look like a pair of runners. And I'm not just saying that as a throwaway comment, as something someone else would say. I have proof in my own pair of runners today. See? Black, red, white. Very similar. Now, to be honest, the styling is not really to my taste. It's a bit too high and not wide enough and kind of has awkward proportions. But that is not a universal opinion, as I've asked other people and they actually quite like it, particularly in this SRI model. And who am I to judge styling anyway? My runners basically look like the car. So the back seat of the Crossland, and as you can see, the headroom is very generous thanks to that higher roofline. Legroom is okay, I can kind of fit my hands in there, and that is in my driving position and I'm about 6 foot. Seats are very comfortable. You don't really have any extras like USB or cup holders or anything of that nature, but they are very comfortable and there is a good sense of airiness back here. Just lots of space and a nice view out, very comfortable. And I did get a child seat in very easily too. The boot is also very practical at 410 litres, and that's a good 100 litres more than the Mokka, and only about 10 less than a Nissan Juke. The only downside with the boot is there is quite a deep lip, so you do have to get over that to drop stuff in. But otherwise, very impressive boot, and it has a spare tyre too. Pricing for the Crossland starts at just over €23,000, and the price for today's test car is €24,250. Up front in this SRI model is all very pleasant, and I think the best compliment I could give it is everything is just very easy to use and just very straightforward. It's just very easy to get to know the Crossland. Everything is two-hand and traditionally placed and functional and just right. Just what you know, basically. So you have your two cup holders down here in the middle. You have a nicely placed armrest too. It's a thin one, but when you sit comfortably with your elbows resting on either side, it is very comfortable. And these seats too are very comfortable. I did a long journey in them without any massive complaints. These are obviously the sporty ones because it is the SRI model, so you have the red flashes over the middle. And these ones actually have a knee extender to support your knees, which is a nice little touch. Always like that. It does not have big door bins though. They're a bit shallow, so a water bottle will just fall out. You do need to use your cup holders in the middle. Personally up here, I think it looks quite well. You have the red flashes around everywhere with the red stitching and the red panels beside the infotainment. Now, speaking of the infotainment, it actually works pretty well. It is on a 7-inch screen on this model. Sometimes it's a bit laggy, but it's relatively straightforward. There is a learning curve like most of these things, but thankfully there are override buttons, 6 of them here in front, that you can just press. So something like nav brings you straight to the navigation, audio to your audio options. And you also have the option of Android Auto and Apple CarPlay, which is always greatly appreciated. Now, very similar to the back, there is a sense of airiness thanks to that higher roof. So you do get a good view out. It's very comfortable up here. I really wouldn't have any major complaints. You also have 2 USB ports down here in front and a 12-volt option too. You have individual climate control on this particular model. There are dials underneath the infotainment screen for temperature and volume of air coming out. Unfortunately, some of it is integrated into the touch screen, so there is a bit of faffing around between the two of them depending on what you want. And another fiddly little thing is the handbrake. They've kind of changed it. It's got a weird kind of swan neck shape almost, and the button's on top rather than in front, and you have to, it did take me longer than I'd like to admit to figure this out. You do have to kind of give it a little tug up first as you push the button in to release it, and it's just unnecessary. You also get some nice extra little features on today's model, like a reversing camera, 360 overview as well when you're parking. You have sensors and cruise control as well. Now, what's it like behind the wheel? Well, there's a few engines on offer and maybe we'll cover that first. So there's two 1.2 petrols and two 1.5 diesels. The 1.2 petrols are available with either 83 PS or 130 PS. The 1.5 diesel is either 120 or 110 PS, which seems like an odd gap. That is very close, but that 120 brake is the only option available to you if you want a 6-speed automatic diesel. Now, we are not in the diesel today, we are in the 1.2 petrol, and unfortunately it is the 83 PS version with a 5-speed manual. I can't remember the last time I drove something with less than a 3-figure power number and a 5-speed manual. It's definitely old school, I'll give it that. And it is unfortunate. It's not the greatest thing in the world. It is a bit underpowered for this car. Actually, it's quite a bit underpowered for this car. If you're worried about 0 to 100 kilometers an hour time, that is 13.6 seconds, and it feels every bit of it. Yep, you can drag it out. But look, it's not really this car's strong point, is it? Performance is gutless to say the least, and torque is almost non-existent. You have to wring the life out of it to get it moving, which, look, we'll do now. We're doing 60, we'll drop to third, and just, yeah. Oh, it doesn't like that. It does not like that. If you're going petrol, that 130 brake 1.2 turbo is your best bet. I've driven that in other cars and it's a great little engine. It's actually a little peach. This, not so much. Although in saying that, if you're a very specific person who does 99.5% of their driving around town below 60 kilometers an hour, this isn't bad. Like, the gear change is very smooth, it's clean, it's crisp, it's nothing to complain about, it's nothing to write home about, it's very relaxing. And once you keep it in those lower speeds, you don't need 6 gears. And it's nice and quiet in around town. It's just when you get over 60 kilometers an hour, it's not a happy bunny. Quoted fuel economy is 6 litres per 100 kilometers, and over 5,000 kilometers on this particular model, it's getting 6.3, so pretty accurate, not bad at all. Now, if you are someone who enjoys driving and getting in amongst the twisty stuff, this is not the car for you either, because it just falls apart around faster twisty bends, and it's just does not lend itself to any sort of spirited driving. I mean, you can see from just looking at it that it's never going to really grip corners with any great confidence. It's tall, it's thin, it's got quite small tires as well. Grip is not on its side, and neither is physics, to be fair. So how to conclude our quick tour of the Crossland? Well, I think it would be easy to dismiss it out of hand very quickly. Just say, no, don't get it, not for you, not for anyone. But I think if you sat back and really thought about it, there is a customer base for this car. People who live in town, do most of their driving around town, don't want a whole lot of fuss, and like the old school nature of some of the stuff, like the engine, like the gearbox, like only the 5 speeds, there are people who still like that stuff, and it will appeal to them. It'll hark back to maybe what they like. The other problem is just the level of competition out there is absolutely bonkers. There must be 16 to 20 small SUVs on offer now, if not more. I have to sit down and count them all. And that might just draw people away from the Crossland. Plus, in its own lineup, you have the Mokka, which just looks better. To me anyway, it looks a lot better. And if you're standing in the showroom and you're looking at both of them and they're not massively different in price, particularly when you look at PCP deals or monthly payments, they're not going to be massive. There's not going to be a massive stretch between them. Unless you're very practically minded, my money would be on the Mokka. If you'd like to search Cars Ireland for a Grandland, please do click on the link above. And that's it, and we'll see you again next week. All the best, bye bye.